Hey everybody, I want to mention briefly that I decided to use various Souls boss fights as the backdrop for this video since I want the main focus to be on the commentary. With that in mind, I want to say that I read through all the comments on my recent Dark Souls 2 area video and my Dark Souls 3 boss video, and I've noticed a general rise in the amount of negativity in the comment sections on these type of ranking videos. This is the second time since I've started YouTube that I've had a strong negative response on a video enough that I felt the need to respond, and as with the first time, I'm going to take a blunt and honest approach to my feelings on the matter. Keeping an open dialogue with the community is something that is important to me, so I always encourage you to leave your own thoughts in the comments. My first reaction was to make a comment comeback type of video where I respond individually to people in a humorous or serious way depending on whether the criticisms were constructive or not, but I've decided rather to speak in general about the feedback topic by topic. One thing I do want to make clear before we start is that I understand many of you out there enjoyed the video greatly, were entertained, and I couldn't be happier about that. But I'm always looking for ways to improve as a creator, and I don't want to ignore constructive feedback from our community. Number 1, this video is too negative and biased. In some way, shape, or form, the most common complaint on the video was that it was overly biased in a negative direction. Let's start with the bias. I want to make one thing abundantly clear. Every single video on my channel is biased, and that will always be the case. As far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as an objective viewpoint on YouTube. Each creator on this website is creating videos that offer a perspective that comes solely from them, or perhaps multiple people if it's a group, but either way, it's an individual or small collectives of opinions. When I make the templates I use to do the commentary for my videos, everything I write or ad-lib during the process is coming out of my mind, my perspective. That's always going to be biased. Even though I feel like this is self-explanatory, I try to go out of my way in most videos to say things like, in my opinion, but it seems like people are often upset by someone expressing their opinion regardless. Now, there's something to be said about trying to remain objective and give a less biased view on a topic, and I'll openly admit that I didn't try to do that with a Dark Souls 2 area video at all. And there's a few reasons for that, but let's start with the most obvious. I'm not a big fan of Dark Souls 2. My personal opinion is that it's a flawed game largely based on the point that the B team at FromSoft tried in the wrong ways to make the game difficult. Instead of using clever enemy placements, they've dumped a bunch of enemies in various spots and said deal with it. Instead of focusing on making a moderate amount of amazing bosses, they made a large amount that have varying quality for better or worse. And worst of all, they didn't polish the game enough so that both of these issues are exacerbated by its infamous shitboxes, thanks large in part to ADP. This is because they prioritized difficulty that was oppressive over that which was rewarding to the player. Here's where I want to make a point. Anyone out there watching who just got upset by how I talked about the game, understand one thing. Everything I just said is subjective. You may feel 100% the opposite from me, and that's totally okay. I have zero problem with you thinking the enemy placements in these games are masterful, that the quality of the bosses is a strength of the game, and that they're fantastic on the whole. And ADP is a great stat that encourages the player to choose between effective agility or other stats. And that as a whole results in you thinking the game is even more rewarding to the player. That perspective is just as valid and valuable as my own. Just because I have a large platform to express my opinion doesn't mean yours is invalidated. I've always held this as one of the core ideals of my channel. I take an opinionated standpoint in my videos, and in the comments section you're supposed to be able to discuss whether you agree or disagree and offer a dissenting perspective, something that generates discussion and allows us to learn from each other. And to some of your credit, you did this. You commented why you disagreed and gave your reasons, and I can tell you to this point I've read every single comment on that video, and I appreciate everything you've had to say, and I learned quite a few things from your perspectives. And to some of your shame, you resorted to childish insults and rants with little logical reasoning, which brings me to my next criticism. Number 2, your opinion is bad and not well thought out. This bit of feedback expands on the first point and certainly has some legitimacy to it. I've already expanded on the idea that my opinion doesn't invalidate yours and that I'll hold true to my own beliefs wholeheartedly in the face of weak insults to it, but that doesn't mean there isn't any validity to the criticisms of it. The main criticism I agree with is that my opinions in the video aren't really fleshed out. At best, I give one to a couple of reasons why I don't like the area and quickly scoot onward to the next one. It's not that I couldn't go into more depth, it's that I actively chose not to. Part of this is because the point that sticks out to me most in each area are problems more representative of what I don't like about the game as a whole and less about the areas themselves. The other part is a lack of passion on the topic. I said a long time ago in the Demon Souls area video that I wasn't feeling the fire for the areas, so I canceled the series. I eventually decided to bring it back after a break because I knew how much many of you enjoyed the series, and my goal first and foremost is to entertain you all. So I wanted to make these for you, even if I wasn't super invested. While I think this worked fine for Dark Souls, a game I'm quite fond of, it hasn't gone as well for Dark Souls 2, a game I don't really enjoy. So with making the Dark Souls 2 area videos, it's really more of a joke fest for me. Whatever criticisms I have to offer I know are going to be pretty harsh, so I relied more on making jokes and harping on the same complaints over and over for better or worse. It's not that I think going into depth is a bad idea, but rather that I didn't want to. Which brings me to the third piece of criticism. Number 3, the quality of this video is poor and so is your commentary. Again, this criticism came in two forms, overly negative insults and legitimate constructive thoughts. For those who only had negative negativity to offer, all I can say is that I pity your need for your opinion to be validated by putting someone else's down, and I genuinely hope you can be more open-minded in the future. If you don't like my opinion or even video as a whole, I'm totally cool with that, but try to be rational about it when you tell me, because I promise that kind of feedback won't fall on deaf ears. And that brings me to the constructive things brought up by fans. I talked already about the lack of depth of my analysis, which I agree is a bad thing, but there's something else I want to address. There were a small number of complaints about my commentary's delivery, and it's not the first time I've heard it, so I want to openly ask you all for your opinion. What do you think about the way I commentate my videos? Do you prefer when I take a more moderate tone throughout the entire video with little inflection in my voice? Does it bother you when I get excited in my commentary and get louder and shout? Because truthfully, sometimes this happens naturally and sometimes it's fake. In the case of the Dark Souls 2 video, it's mostly fake. No, I'm not actually sitting in front of my computer so triggered by the thought of Shrine of Amana that I'm shouting fuck till the cows come home. But I found the whole bit to be funny myself, which is enough of a set piece to draw away from the weaker critical commentary in the video, or at least that was the goal. Humor is subjective, and I can't promise there aren't times where I'll do things my way. But if you do think I rely on a certain trope too much in my videos, then I'm completely open to constructive criticisms on it. Sorry, I feel like I may be sending a mixed message. What I'm trying to say is that some of the ways I talk and act in my videos are representative of who I am as a person. I'm loud and passionate at times, and that makes me fired up. I'm someone who talks with emotion when I feel strongly about something, and that'll make me inflict my voice. But at the same time, I can fake these things for the sake of creating what I think is an entertaining skit in a video, which may come across as ingenuine. This brings me to the fourth criticism. Number 4, the video's tone isn't serious enough. I won't spend too long on this since it's been explained mostly, so let's get to the point and be blunt. I didn't care enough about the Dark Souls 2 area, so I decided to make mostly a joke video out of it. I'm sure this disappointed fans of Dark Souls 2 who were expecting an actual pro and con look at each area rather than shouting and repetitive surface level complaints. For that, I'm genuinely apologetic. I wish I could have been less stubborn about the way I handled the video and stuck to what I originally intended to do. Make these videos for your enjoyment even if I wasn't super passionate about them. I let my lack of motivation come through too strongly in the video. It made for a weak video overall, and I'm sorry I delivered a subpar video in that regard. In my defense, I feel like the video actually was quality satire on how a Dark Souls 2 hater might react, but I know that was probably disappointing for people who really do like the game. This brings us to the final criticism. Number 5, why even make a Dark Souls 2 area video if you don't like the game? Well, I've answered this question already, but I'm gonna use this as a talking point for how we're gonna move forward. I've said for a long time that I have a very specific idea of how I feel about success on YouTube. If I can't be successful entertaining people with the videos I myself want to make, then I should be doing something else with my time. The thing is, I genuinely care about making you all happy, so I've tried to strike a balance between doing what I want to do and what you expect of me, or at least what I interpret that you expect of me. Sometimes this has led to really fun videos like the top 10 Souls waifus, which I originally intended as a joke that I'd never make, but it turned out to be a great time. Other times it's led to subpar videos like the Dark Souls 2 areas. It's no secret that I've been inconsistent on YouTube for a long time, and I think it's finally time for me to be completely honest about it. I've done everything I wanted to do originally in ranking things in the Souls series, and I think it's time to move on from that. When I originally made the community difficulty rankings a year ago, I was intending for it to be a one-off thing and then moving on to the next topic. But it resonated with so many people that I was happy to start the quality boss rankings because I love the bosses that much. But by the time that it concluded, that was pretty much everything I had wanted to talk about in Souls other than giving my thoughts on the games as a whole. Instead of moving on to reviewing the games though, I felt immense pressure to continue making more and more top 10s and rankings because fans wanted them and I didn't want to disappoint anyone. So I carried on with the area rankings idea and did my best to make them a quality experience. I think it's arguable whether or not I succeeded, but I tried the best I could under the circumstances. At the same time, I tried a bunch of other various videos, none of which really stuck because I couldn't give my full attention to them. I can't let my channel grow beyond ranking topics in Souls if I don't let it. I wanted the change to be gradual, but I've had trouble letting go. But I'm not gonna do that anymore. I apologize sincerely to the many fans this is gonna disappoint, but I'm done ranking things in Souls on my channel. I'm not gonna finish the Dark Souls 2 areas, I'm not gonna rank the Dark Souls 3 areas, and I'm gonna cancel the community boss rankings for DS3 as well. Frankly, I just don't want to release videos that aren't up to a high quality standard anymore, and I want to focus on the content that I want to make. With those cancellations, it frees up my YouTube schedule a lot for the future. I still plan on finishing the evolution of Zelda, and I've got a couple Zelda videos I really want to make after that. I also plan on doing something I've been talking about with Souls for a long time that I felt like I couldn't do until the rankings were all complete, which is reviewing the games themselves. But I want to take your feedback to heart and be more fair and balanced in my criticisms and praises. So instead of reviewing the 5 games, I'm going to commit to the final Souls series for this channel. The 10 things I love and the 10 things I hate about each game. That way I get to do an individual video for each game on its strengths and weaknesses and give a balanced perspective on each title. More importantly, I won't feel constrained by the need to compare things. Rankings focus so much on what's better than what, and though sometimes I feel like there's value in that comparison, it narrows the range you can speak in. I want to be more open-ended and open-minded in the future, and I want to let the passion I have to do so blossom and create higher quality content for you all that's entertaining, more in depth and something that we can all enjoy together. I don't bullshit when I say I care about YouTube. If anything, I probably care too much to the point it's hindered my channel. Spending time making content I'm not passionate about wastes time I could be making better content that you'll be much more likely to enjoy. I said it the last time and I think it needs to be said again. I have a hard time accepting the idea that I can't please everybody, but the truth is it's selfish to believe that everybody will like the content that I make. For the future, I'm going to focus on making this channel what I want it to be and respecting the hell out of anyone who stays loyal to the community we build around it. Either way, if you supported me in the past, support me today, or a future viewer looking back through my video catalog, all I can say is that I'm grateful for you. I love each and every one of you, and I can't thank you enough for supporting me. I look forward to a better and brighter future on this channel. I'll see you soon with the Wind Waker review and the first in our new series with the 10 things I love about Demon's Souls.